favorites teed us in there. Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hold in, Devontae.
Sure. Before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
He's just picking the big guys. Jordan Mailata, he's huge. He'll be good later on. Josh Sweat, he's tall as hell and strong. Let's get him. We'll figure him out. It's working. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. This is Trending in the AM. I am Jeremy Horwath, and I am usually with Phil Stifle, but today he's getting his tooth pulled. It's all he's been complaining about for the past week, his tooth being pulled, I swear. So today we have a very special guest, a DSM brother over here in Scotty. Scotty, how you doing today?
I am doing good, man. Good morning. I'm happy to be up and early with you. You get my day started right. I get to talk sports, and then I go straight into work. So
yeah,
it's not too bad.
There you go. Happy to have you here. This is our first show together. We have talked many times about trying to get together, but the only one we technically had was the fantasy draft for DSM, where actually he just beat me this week. I was thinking you might have brought this up, but I guess I had to bring it up before you did.
No, because it wasn't like an honorable win even. You know what I mean? It's not like my team performed to its greatest extent. I think you just had a really bad week, with injuries and everything. Yeah. So it's like I didn't even blow you out on a week where I should have blew you out in a sense. Because that's why I'm not going around touting. I'm 3-7 in that league too. So no.
No, I feel
and
you.
Aaron Jones just got injured, so that's gonna mess up the lineup for sure.
No, definitely. But we have so much to go over today. We're gonna go over the Sixers preview against the Utah Jazz tonight. Even more news happening with Ben Simmons as of this morning. So we'll go in more to that as well. Going over the Eagles game a little bit too, getting more of Scottys thoughts on the Sixers season overall, just so all you guys can see what he thinks too. I'm very interested, so we'll see how that goes. And just a little bit more into the NFL. We'll go over the Monday night football game last night that happened, which blew everyone away, I believe, that game. Talk a little bit about Pete Carroll. He had a little bit upset, kind of how me and Phil talk about how bad the refs are. I guess Pete Carroll had something to say about that. So that's gonna get into this show, and just a lot more just going on. Flyers are on tonight too, so a lot to go over. But before we fully get started, DSM is sponsored by Manscaped. Use code TRENDING at checkout. Show the other guys like Scotty that you're going to use code TRENDING over all the other ones. So, but overall, just supporting DSM. It's the best grooming experience. Holidays are just around the corner, so come on, get them something. Trust me, your balls will thank you. They will thank you. But getting straight into it, we will go straight into the Sixers. So much stuff's going on. Before we even talk about the games, news about Ben Simmons broke this morning. Starting off this road trip, Ben Simmons is now starting to get fined for not playing in the games again. Scotty, what initial thoughts? Because I know that we were just talking about it earlier. Your initial thoughts on the news that are just breaking about Ben Simmons.
Is there? So I told you before the show I didn't actually catch that news. Is there a reason behind it?
So I didn't look fully into it. So I know. I think it's because there's missing the entire road trip. That's what I know. That's what the main thing said. It was like Sixers reportedly resume fines for Ben Simmons after missing the whole road trip, for missing the road trip. It just in general. So So what the actual full reason is that he did not even travel with them. That's what it was. They wanted him to travel with them on the road trip, and he didn't go at all. So
I just saw that on Shams Twitter. So. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's good that the Sixers did that, though, honestly. I get he's got some issues going on, but they're going on a 6-game road trip. It's not like you're going into the Wells Fargo Center and people are going to boo you or anything like that. Yeah. So it's a perfect time for Ben to get out there with the Sixers team without any type of pressure, even if it's just sitting on the bench with them. I mean, I just, for Ben Simmons, we think about all the seasons that he's had here in Philly, the players that he's played with, specifically the players on this team that you would think that he would consider brothers. Like I know you've played sports in the past. Like when you're on these teams with these people that you're with every day, practicing hours out of the day, then you go into the game, you take losses together, you get wins together, you celebrate together.
Yeah.
It creates a bond, it creates a friendship and
a brotherhood.
And I just don't understand how he can turn his back on his brothers. Because there's people like Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, even Joel Embiid, who have stood up for Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go out there and support your brothers. Like, forget the Sixers franchise.
Yeah.
Forget the organization. It's a basketball team. And these are just players. And he just doesn't want to be out there. And the other side of it is, with the Sixers, they're down a couple players right now. This is Ben Simmons' time to get on the court and show that he can be a guy that can have a team built around him. So all of it is just it's all contradicting what he's trying to get done, which is ultimately get out of Philadelphia, and it just doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah, exactly. If he really wanted to like that bad or anything like that, he would be out there with the team on this road trip, just like you were saying. Your trade value sparks up just like that. If he goes to this if he goes on this 6-game road trip and all these guys are out, and now Ben Simmons comes in and he plays 6 great games. He comes in, gets us a couple. He doesn't even have to win like that many games. He comes in, he just shows that he does well. He drops 15 to 20 points a game, gets around 10. Yeah, gets a couple small triple doubles. And they're seeing he can still do that after all this time off. Trade value instantly up. Like that's what's scaring teams. They don't know what's going on with him anymore. They're not seeing him play anymore. What's going on with Ben Simmons? Has he gotten better? Is he worse because of this? Because right now they're thinking he's playing worse. They're thinking Ben Simmons is not as good as a basketball player. And now like his mental health issues with again, I hope he still does better and everything. I don't hate Ben Simmons for anything. Like he's still a person and everything like that. But still, you got it on this road trip. You're not going to receive like that kind of hate. Like you're on the West Coast. The West Coast is where you want to go. That's all he's been talking about. He wants to go to a West Coast team. What are you doing?
Those are the teams that he wants to go to. So we talk about the Warriors, the Kings of the world. These are the teams that he wants to go to. And then you end that road trip with a game back home against Minnesota. Yeah. These are the possible locations that Ben could get traded to. So I, once again, don't understand it. But, I totally full-heartedly agree with you about the mental issues, that part of it. I'm not getting into that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly.
That is not for me to declare whether or not he's having those, with Ben Simmons. But the thing about Ben Simmons for me, and you mentioned it, it's the value and how it could skyrocket just by him simply playing.
Yeah.
And, something that was broke down to me last night on Scotty Talks NBA, Ben Simmons and say like a Jaylen Brown, right, from the Celtics they're not that far off in reality of talent. Like if you go down the list of skills of basketball, there's several that Ben Simmons is better than Jaylen Brown at. Yeah. But right now, Jaylen Brown's value is just skyrocketed, right? He's playing really well. He's at a great spot in his career. Ben Simmons has plummeted. All it takes is a triple-double, like you said, a few good games in that 6-game road trip, and boom, he's right back there to the point where evaluators can now see, like, okay, Ben Simmons isn't totally in his head. He can play basketball. He can still be that all-star player, that all-defensive player, and boom, you can start to make deals happen. The value starts to add up a little bit more. But right now, you have so many factors that are detractors for Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
The mental aspect. If he is going through mental issues, off the court, that's another detractor in reality. If your team, why would you trade for him if he's unstable right now? That's just not a smart financial business move. Yeah. The other side of it, he's not playing, so he's not in game shape. So that's another detractor. It looks like a bad attitude, not wanting to be with the team, not being a team player, another detractor. And then all we have to remember is that last playoff series against Atlanta. That's a detractor. So he's not setting himself up, regardless of what he's trying to achieve. None of it makes sense in the moves that are being made. And I'm partially, why I'm not so hateful towards Ben Simmons, aside from the mental part of it, is Rich Paul. I hate this guy. Like, I hate this guy, man. And, the stuff that he puts into the news, you can just see the whole game of it, how it goes out and comes back in. They recant their statements. You have like these media guys that are like literally under Rich Paul's contract, it feels like. It's such an annoying situation, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that whole comparison you brought between Ben Simmons and Jaylen Brown, if we would have talked about that trade last year, before everything that's happened with Ben Simmons now, all of this crazy stuff that's been going on, if you would have asked us last year, would we trade Ben Simmons for Jaylen Brown? Everyone would be like, hell no. Like, no,
Right.
I would rather Ben Simmons. And so if you compare them just as players, we'd probably rather Ben Simmons. But now with everything that's going on, obviously Ben Simmons wants out. Everyone wants Ben Simmons out. His value just drops that much. So again, Ben Simmons is probably the better player, but just because everything that happened, that's exactly how it's going to play out, and that's how it does usually play out. Like things that happened with Carson Wentz. Not a lot of people wanted to trade the year before we trade him. Oh, we didn't want to trade him at all. But after everything that happened with him, we're like, all right, well, we got to give him up. Like if we were to talk about before, we'd be like, all right, we need at least like 3 first-round picks. Now we're like, okay, I'll give up a second. I'll take a second-round pick for Carson Wentz. You know what I mean? It just switches that easy just because of the situation that happens.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but I guess that's just how the sports world works. Keeping in touch with the Sixers tonight, they got the Utah Jazz. Embiid's still out. The earliest he can come back is Thursday. Don't know how likely that's even going to happen because he's still showing symptoms. So hopefully Embiid can get better and come out soon. Thibault has now missed 5 games. He's still not back for today. We don't know when he's going to be back. By the reports I was reading, both of them are very, very fluid of when they're going to come back. So we're not totally sure when them 2 guys are going to come back. And to make matters even worse, even though Tobias did come back and Isaiah Joe did come back, Danny Green did re-injure his left hamstring during that Pacers game on Saturday. We don't know what's really going on with Danny Green yet. What I saw is that he was questionable for tonight, but we'll see as it goes.
ESPN's very off base with injuries, I feel like, but they did say he was out. So
did they say? Okay.
Yeah, they said he was out for tonight, which – Danny Green, man, it's just the way everything's played out. He's playing too many minutes. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
He is. He's an older guy, and he plays a very leadership role for us.
Yeah.
That's kind of just the Danny Green way. He's a very much of a leader, but Danny Green's not a 40-minute guy. He's not a 35-minute guy. He hasn't been that guy for a while, and that's just not really his role. And I know all these injuries, having a 7-man rotation, he was playing 40 minutes while already on a bummed left hamstring. So I can't imagine how much worse it only happened. Now it's good that we have Tobias coming back and Isaiah Joe. They're going to be able to help now take them minutes over, maybe even let Danny Green rest for a little bit longer than he really needs, just because we need him to get back to being healthy and everything like that. But that it's definitely huge that Danny Green is out now because we already don't have a lot of guys. But hey, them guys coming back is going to help. What's kind of your takeaways? What are the keys to the game for today against the Jazz? What do you think needs to happen? Is there a chance we can actually win this game against this pretty good Jazz team? Or what are your thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah. So, as far as everybody that's missing, I am worried, as far as how long it'll take Embiid to get back in shape. I know you mentioned that he's such a big guy, right? And you have COVID gets into your lungs and stuff. And he's already a guy that, has dealt with poor conditioning in the past. Not to say that he hasn't improved, but it could take him a little while to get back to normal. Tobias just came back firing, though. He's came back on fire. In the Raptors game, he got a little slow there at the end, obviously trying to get his legs back. But against the Pacers on Saturday, I mean, he was on fire at 30 points, I believe. But tonight against the Jazz, man, the Jazz are coming in. They're 8.5-point favorites at home, as they should be. I mean, the Jazz are a really good team. Donovan Mitchell playing really well per usual, up close to 26 points per game, 5 assists per game, 32% from 3. Rudy Gobert averaging 15 points a game, 15 rebounds a game, and about 2 blocks a game. The key tonight for me, against the Jazz, and I feel like this is always the key against the Jazz, regardless of who you have playing. Which, shout out to Ben Simmons. He had that 42-point game against the Jazz when Embiid was out last year. So, what could have been. But the key is going to be winning the 3-point battle, I think. In a game like this where the Sixers are, heavily under favored, you got to win the 3-point battle. You got to force the Jazz to shoot twos. Don't let them go off from the 3-point line. Guys like Jordan Clarkson, Bogdanovich, Joe Ingles. They got a plethora of guys out there that can shoot the three. And you just got to force them off the line. And on the other end, you got to hit threes. So tonight, Seth Curry has kind of cooled off over the last few games. He's got to get back into it. Korkmaz. A lot of these guys look tired on Saturday. They looked exhausted. But tonight, I think it has to be a Georges Niang, Korkmaz, Shake Milton. All of these guys got to contribute, hit a few shots tonight. And including Seth Curry. He's got to be hot tonight for them to win as well. The other guy that I haven't even mentioned yet, obviously, Tyrese Maxey. He pushes the needle. He brings the aggressiveness. How have you felt about Tyrese Maxey so far this season? I'm just curious.
Tyrese Maxey is one of my favorite players in the league right now. He's so like the plainest way to put this dude's awesome. He just does everything right. And something that's very big on this show now that we talk about is Tyrese Maxey does not commit turnovers at all. After every game, me and Phil are like, all right, like we have like a little tracker, and it's like he only had 1 turnover today, or he had 0 turnovers and he played 45 minutes. We're like, what the hell? Like that, him doing that, if he committed even a couple turnovers, it could have been a whole different game. Could have lost that game in general. But we have a guy playing 40 to 45 minutes, committing 0 to 1 turnovers a game. Like that is and that's one of like the underrated stat that's not going to get talked about much.
Yeah.
But that is one of my favorite ones. The fact that Maxey is out there not committing the ball, getting 30 points a game. Like this guy's going crazy. He's going crazy.
It's and that's honestly, you mentioned it. A lot of people aren't going to talk about it, but that is the key stat. I mean, when you're talking about a starting point guard, second-year point guard, who coming out of college, this guy wasn't like your prototypical point guard that facilitates an offense. He was a very attack combo guard type of guy, and he's manning the offense. He's controlling it. Like not only is he scoring, he's upticked his scoring in the last few games, but he's controlling the game. He's got a great assist to turnover ratio. He's getting right around that 4 to 5 assists a game, which is perfect, right? Yeah. Like with Ben Simmons not here, I think what people don't understand about the facilitation of the offense is that with Ben Simmons not here, that allows other guys to be creative on offense as well. So just because they weren't required to do it before doesn't mean that they can't do it. Right. So if you get 4 or 5 assists from Maxey, you get 2-3 assists from Seth Curry, 2-3 assists from Embiid, 3-4 assists from Tobias Harris. That starts to add up when all of these guys are running the offense and you're running the offense through them. The other key stat with Tyrese Maxey, which is, I would say it literally is the other key stat aside from the turnovers. 41.3% from the 3-point line this year, above the league average. That's something that he was knocked for as well, is his shooting ability. And he's hitting step-back threes. He's hitting spot-up threes. He's hitting threes off the dribble. He's doing it all. And that's what you love to see. And it's going to create a beautiful team whenever Joel Embiid does return. Regardless, Joel Embiid will return at some point and be fully healthy. And when he does, this team's going to be scary and they're going to be deep. They're getting a lot of experience right now, man. Yeah, and it really is going to work out great. And something else that I just drew a blank. So I had something else in my head too. But just Tyrese Maxey, and I remember now. I saw a thing and it was like Tyrese Maxey improved more in one offseason than Ben Simmons did over the past 5 off seasons. Straight up, just like that. And Tyrese Maxey's 21 years old right now. 21 years old, man. That is insane. That's insane. Wow, it's crazy. Yeah, just a star is being shown right in front of us. Right in front of us, came out of nowhere. So I'm very excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. Where do you think? What are kind of your predictions for the rest of the season for the Sixers right now, or even just this road trip? How do you think this road trip's really going to go? Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned it because I had it written down here. So they got the Jazz, Nuggets, Blazers, Kings, Warriors left on this road trip. Not easy. Not at all. I mean, the Jazz and the Nuggets, top tier teams in the West. Warriors, obviously, top tier team in the West. Blazers and Kings. I mean, the Blazers still have Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum. Anything can happen. Exactly. And then the Kings, they're not very good, but they do have an explosive offense. This road trip, I'll be happy if they go 2-3. I get they're on a 4-game slide right now. I think it's important that we don't panic. We don't need to press the panic button. There's reasons why we are losing these games. Right. if Embiid is in these games, they win. I think even if Matisse Thybulle is still here, they probably still win. You know, a lot of those defensive possessions at the end of the games, they need a stopper, and that would be Matisse Thybulle. I think they got to go 2 and 3. I think the ideal situation, which I would hate to drop 6 in a row, lose to the Jazz, lose to the Nuggets on Thursday, but I think the 2 most winnable games, obviously, are the Blazers and the Kings on that road trip, which those 2 games you have to win. So it needs 2 and 3. Jazz Nuggets. Jazz, I'm a little worried about. If the Jazz are hot tonight, we're not going to have a chance just because they shoot the 3 ball so well, they score so well. You need all your guns against the Jazz if they have all their guns, and they are fully healthy. The Nuggets, they're a team that they could beat. I hate the altitude thing, playing in Denver. Yeah. Definitely with these guys on a limited roster, limited rotation. But the Nuggets are missing Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. There's, you're talking about just playing against Jokic and a few role players there with Will Barton and the rest of those guys. That's a game that you can win. So 3 and 2, I think, would be like a beautiful road trip.
Yeah, you'd be very happy with it.
I guess it would be 3 and 3 total with the Pacers game, but that would be a perfect road trip in my opinion. Whenever you're not playing with Embiid right now.
Yeah, and Embiid again, we don't entirely know, but there's a chance the earliest he can come back is Thursday due to the protocols, and that's against the Nuggets. So if he does come back Thursday and he plays against Jokic, I feel like that's an automatic win. It should be a win.
Yeah,
that should be a W. And I would feel a lot better with this road trip. But again, if Embiid wants to, if Embiid's not feeling it, let him sit out a little bit. It's early in the season. Yeah. Let him get fully healthy. We need him. We need him.
I know, and you mentioned the Nuggets, and then even the Warriors. If Joel Embiid is out there, that's a totally different ball game.
Totally different game.
They have nobody that can guard Joel Embiid on the Golden State. I know everybody loves them right now, but the Sixers can't compete with the Warriors with Embiid for sure. They're not, the Warriors have had a pretty soft schedule so far, the way everything's played out. I know they're like 11-2 or 11-3, but
it's just been Steph going crazy. It really is. Every day I'm on Instagram or Twitter and it says, "Oh, Steph Curry drops with a 40-point game." I'm like, what?
I say it so nonchalantly, but good luck stopping Steph as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's going to be rough.
2 and 3 over the next 5 would be ideal, but it's going to be rough if we have to watch them lose 6 in a row. If they lose to the Jazz and then drop it to the Nuggets, but maybe they surprise us tonight. They got 2 days of rest. They haven't played since Saturday. They got Sunday and Monday off. Obviously, I know they probably spent one of those days traveling, but you got a chance tonight. I mean, you talk about a Jazz team like Rudy Gobert. That's not like the scariest guy in the world to me.
Yeah.
As far as matchups, like Drummond can rebound with the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just hope that Niang, Korkmaz, those were the guys that were kind of looking tired. And then, it does suck about Danny Green because in that Pacers game, he was like stepping so far out of his game. You could tell that he was kind of like overexerting himself, like driving to the lane and finishing layups and stuff. And I was like, wow, like Danny Green's playing out of his mind. And then, of course, boom, his hamstring's blown. So
that's why he doesn't do it.
Yeah, exactly, man. It was a funny question Phil actually asked me on my show last night, but do you kind of blame Doc? And I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but do you kind of blame Doc for not playing some of these younger guys earlier, like Jaden Springer, getting him in there to relieve guys like Seth Curry, even Korkmaz, the guy that doesn't need to be playing 30-plus minutes, like relieving some of those guys. Do you kind of throw a little bit of blame to Doc, or do you commend him for trying to stay in those games and win them?
See, the way I kind of view it is Doc Rivers knows he knows if these guys are ready. That's kind of how I view it. If they're not ready and they're going to go out there and embarrass themselves or it's just not worth it, I'm going to trust Doc on this one. I'm usually very critical of Doc Rivers. But this one, I would leave it more up to him. I'm not going to put my input on it too much. Now, would I like to see them in for even just 3 to 5 minutes to let some guys sit? I think that I don't think it would be that bad. I don't really think so. But again, if it really is, if he sees these guys practice every day, and It's how my guess why they're not coming in is he's looking at them like these guys are just not ready. Like they're going to go out there and it could mess them up fundamentally. It could mess up their progression. So I'm guessing it's more of that. So I'm going to trust Doc on that. But I feel like a couple minutes just to let guys sit down for a few minutes. I don't think that would damage them at all. But hey, I'm not an NBA head coach. Doc knows better than me, so I'm at least going to trust him on this one. Again, most things I do not trust Doc with as much, but this one I'm going to leave into his hands a little bit more. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that too? I wasn't able to see that question last night.
I totally agree with you. I agree with what you said there. I'm going to trust Doc. And my perception of it is, you look at those games against the Bucks and the Knicks specifically to start that, that those games without Embiid, right? Like the Knicks was the first game without Embiid. In those games, it's like, I would probably wave the white flag, if the other teams did what they're supposed to, which is come out and step on the Sixers' neck without Embiid, without Tobias Harris in those games. So if the Knicks go up 20, I might wave the white flag and put in some of those young guys and save my guys for the next night against Milwaukee. That was kind of my thought. But then once you get so entrenched in that game, and it is a competitive game, and it feels like, we may be able to steal this one against the Knicks without our guys, you go for it. You have to go all in. And then if you want to wave the white flag, save that for the next night against the defending champs. But then, as you see, it gets down to those clutch moments. Julius Randle drills a couple shots. Knicks take the W. You go into the next night, you're probably thinking, I'm not going to run my guys into the ground. Sixers come out and get a 15-point lead against the Bucks. So now you're trying to get that W. And then it just goes down the line of competitiveness. And I can see how Doc would fall into that as well. You don't want to think about each and every game as like this must-win game for the 82-game regular season. But whenever you get into those fourth quarters where it's close, it's hard to not go for those wins. And you don't want them to tank either, right? Like that's not what
exactly.
So, I agree with you, though. I agree.
So much going on the Sixers. I don't know if you have anything else that you have for the Sixers that you had your notes for before the show. Do you have anything else to talk Sixers before we change the subject?
The only thing with the Sixers, just survive this stretch. I mean, just try to get out of it healthy. Beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. These bottom tier teams. If you lose to the Jazz, Nuggets, and Warriors in this trip, it's not the end of the world, as long as you beat the Blazers, Kings, and then the Timberwolves when you return home. So it all balances out. Just survive this. Do not get anybody else injured. Do not overwork these guys. It's a long season. This is not the defining moment of the season. If this turns into a 20-game stretch without Embiid, then But as of right now, just survive, stay healthy, and the Sixers will be fine in the long run.
Yeah. And what's your prediction for tonight before we go over to the NFL?
Man,
I don't even need a score. I don't even need a score. I just need.
I'm not going to go score. I gut feeling, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Gut feeling. I think the Sixers steal this game tonight, surprise everybody, and they not start the road trip, but they kind of get on the right foot on this road trip. And if they can do something like that tonight against the Jazz, a team that they really shouldn't beat them. I mean, in reality, they shouldn't beat them on this road trip. If they can pull off a win like that, my alarm's going off. That translates into the next part of the road trip, which would be the Nuggets. So you get some momentum build against the Jazz tonight, get a W, make it a tight game at least. You take that energy into the next game on Thursday. You get a night off. You go to Denver. And then you have a good chance of beating Denver without Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. But gut feeling tonight, Sixers do exactly what I said. Keep the Jazz off the three-point line. Jazz are not having a night like the Indiana Pacers where they're hitting everything.
Yeah.
And the Sixers get this W tonight. Hopefully. Let's hope for the best. They have a chance. They can do it. These guys have been hot throughout this season. They just got to get back on track. They got a few days of rest, so hopefully.
I like it. I would love a Sixers win tonight. Game 10 against the Jazz. Everyone tune in. Got to be watching that. It's going to be great. Keep on supporting these Sixers team no matter what's going on. It's going to be a fun night. A couple of Philly games going on tonight again with the Flyers. Go over that a little bit later. But It's gonna be a good night in sports for Philly. Moving over to the NFL. Last night was Monday Night Football. Divisional game, Los Angeles Rams versus San Francisco 49ers. Yesterday, me and Phil had our predictions, and he said 41-17 Rams, and I think I was right around there too. We did not see that coming at all. Yesterday, the 49ers beat the Los Angeles Rams 31-10 last night. Definitely not something that I saw happening. Was not my prediction at all. I'm not sure if you were able to catch that game last night, Scotty.
Yeah.
But wow, just even on the third play of the game, Matthew Stafford threw an interception, and ever since then, it just looked like there was no chance.
Downhill.
It just did not seem like anything was really going to happen. So it was just a crazy situation. I'm still mind blown from it because I tuned in like halfway through and I was like, wait, what? I'm like, what is going on right now?
I'm with you.
It was totally crazy, but
it was.
What are kind of your thoughts on the game last night?
So you mentioned it was crazy. It was crazy because I was actually like during the start of the game, I was shooting my pod last night, and I know in fantasy. So in fantasy, I needed Deebo Samuel to do his thing in order to beat you in DSM. And then in my dynasty league, I needed OBJ to like stay under 10 points basically, which he obviously did. He only got like 3 or 4 points. So I got off the pod and I'm like, what's the score? What's the stat lines? You know what I mean? And I look at the stat line, it's like 21-7 or 24 something in that area. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right? Like the Rams, like we've hyped the Rams up, and maybe it's our own doing, maybe it's our own fault. Like I don't know if that's what it is. Like the big names, and maybe we're just overhyping it. But they just got their asses handed to them. Simply put, like the 49ers have won 5 straight against the Rams now, and it seems to be the same, equation every time to beat the Rams. Play them physical as hell, punch them in the mouth. And that's what the 49ers are good at. They run the ball very strong. Deebo Samuel. I'm interested on your thoughts with Deebo Samuel because he's such a physical presence at the wide receiver position. He's basically a running back at the wide receiver position, as far as his size and his ability.
Yeah.
Where does he rank amongst the wide receivers in the NFL? Because, as far as keeping an eye on him, obviously I have him in fantasy. He has been going off this year. Where do you put him at as far as tiers of wide receivers in the NFL? Because he's just so different.
Yeah. So he plays a very hybrid role. Like the way I put it, like how there's safeties that can also play linebacker. They're hybrids.
I agree. That's kind of
how I would put Deebo. It's hard to, again, just like you said, it's hard to rank him as a wide receiver. Like if you look at him through fantasy aspects, he's a top 5 receiver right now in points. And of course, that's not going to translate straight to NFL, how good he is there. Like Jalen Hurts is like 7th in points for quarterbacks, but he is not a top 7 quarterback in the league.
Right.
But again, Deebo, I'm not sure how he'd fit on most other teams. He is with a very creative-minded head coach in Kyle Shanahan. I think if the Eagles drafted Deebo Samuel, I don't know how well he wouldn't be as good. He's still going to be a good receiver. He's very fast. And maybe we could scheme him the way that San Francisco does. Probably not as well.
I'm not confident.
I'm not very confident either. But at that time when he was drafted, we also had Doug Peterson. So who knows what the hell we would have done with Deebo Samuel. I don't know what we would have done with him. but he's definitely got to be up there now. I even saw a video yesterday. It was actually a TikTok I saw, and it was of people saying that they were going over the best receivers from the 2019 draft. And there's guys like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and they're talking about, hey, they're like the better guys. And now people are starting to notice like, hey, Deebo Samuel's got to be up there now. Like he was a later pick, but he's really making his mark on this league, and he really is. He's doing a lot of things that a lot of players can't do. AJ Brown can't be a running back. Now he is a much better wide receiver. He 100% is. Bigger, still very fast because he has some long strides and everything. And he can just go up and get the ball. But again, just in different ways, it's kind of hard to compare them to an extent. You know what I mean? But Deebo still, he goes out there and just he does everything right. He follows what the system says, does all the routes he's supposed to be doing, gets open. He just does his job and just leaves the field. He's a good receiver. It's just it's really hard to rank him because he's just He's
It
different,
is.
just like you said, he's different.
It is. That's why I ultimately asked you the question, because I was thinking about it myself. But I do love how you mentioned. I just want to shout out Innovation Station here. Rams just need a few weeks. I just subbed. Thanks for the subscription. Definitely appreciate that, and thanks for checking out Trending in the AM. That is pretty awesome. As far as Deebo Samuel, I love that you pointed out the system, because I think you're right. As far as the way they use him, if you don't use him in that powerful running attack, that uphill running attack, he's not as effective. And it's as simple as that. And, it makes me think about guys like Jalen Reagor, which I'm not trying to say Jalen Reagor is Deebo Samuel. He damn sure is not. I'm not a Jalen Reagor fan by any means, but think about him in that offensive system. Does he look like a better player in those type of play situations? They're not the same size. They're not the same player, but they do have similar skill sets in a sense, as far as, Jalen Reagor making things happen in the open field. So it does. It just makes me wonder. Different situations turns players into different players in reality. So it is interesting, because even the 49ers, you talk about their system. They even give George Kittle runs from time to time. They hand the ball off to him. So they just have a very run heavy, but they get very creative with the runs, which I love the San Francisco offense. If they had an optimal quarterback, they would be unstoppable, in my opinion.
Look, and that's kind of just like how we're saying how players fit into schemes and their systems, and that's why they're that good. Jimmy Garoppolo luckily was traded to the 49ers. Say he was traded to a different team, how was that going to work out? Baker Mayfield is the prime example in my eyes. Baker Mayfield on most other offenses is not a good quarterback. The reason why he is so good right now, why he looks so good, is because they have the best damn run game and the best damn offensive line in football. So when you run the ball that much, they play off the play action. Again, just like what Deebo does. He does what he's supposed to do. He plays the snaps he's supposed to do, hands the ball off great, and when the team expects the run, you do a little play action, have a 5-yard dump off, and the guy's running down the field. That is Baker Mayfield. But when it comes down to it, and you can't keep on running the ball because you're down by 7 points with 2 minutes left, is Baker Mayfield going to be the guy to bring you down the field and win that game? Most likely not. That's not Baker Mayfield. When he doesn't have a run game with him, he is not very good. We just saw they lost 41-7 last week, and they couldn't run the ball anymore. What happened? Baker Mayfield had to throw the ball so much, he got injured. He got injured on Sunday. So there's guys just like Jimmy G. I think that it comes down to it. We saw it in that Super Bowl game against the Chiefs. They couldn't run the ball anymore. They had to start passing. They lost the game. That's what happens with these guys that just they can win you games, but are they really the type that can,
like, are they the ones that are winning you the games?
Right, exactly. Yeah. They can win you games, but they're probably not going to go out there and win you a Super Bowl. It's very unlikely. But yeah, all these different guys just fitting into the scheme. It's very important. It's very important. But again, getting back, what was that?
Well, no, I was going to ask you, because you talked about Jimmy G there, and what the hell? He's 15 for 19 last night, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Rams. What's up with the Rams defense? You know what I mean? Like, we've talked about all the big names on the defense, right? And obviously we know from the Eagles have some big names on defense as well. That doesn't make your defense good.
No.
Rams defense does not look good. And, on the other side of it, Matthew Stafford looked completely flustered. Like, is that what losing Robert Woods looks like? Like, are they adjusting? Like, what does that – and then the only other thing with the Rams, I didn't get to hear, like, your thoughts on OBJ's fit there or how that will work out either. So what are your thoughts on the Rams in general after this loss? Like, I'm just totally confused with them.
So Odell Beckham, I've always been a huge Odell Beckham fan. I love that he went to the Rams. I don't think that's anything that messed up last night. People are saying like, oh, Odell went from one catch 6 yards in his last Browns game and got 2 catches for 18 yards. Okay, the dude played 13 snaps. He barely played yesterday, and they were all very small routes. And he was up against Josh Norman. He was actually getting open pretty well. He wasn't like locked down at all. But Stafford just did not have a lot of time. They were getting good pressures and everything. So I love the Odell signing, and I can't wait till he can fit more into it. Yeah. Very crazy how the timing of Robert Woods getting injured and the Odell signing. It's only going to it's going to help. Now, Robert Woods was probably going to be the number 2, and Odell was probably going to be the 3. just because of him joining the team so late, and Robert Woods knows the playbook and everything. But
Yeah.
now Odell's going to fit into that number 2 role. And I do think the Rams are going to figure it out. I really do. I still think they're a really good team in this league, but not as high as maybe I used to put them. I used to put them top 3. I probably can't do that anymore. But yeah, you brought up the defense. They have guys like Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, since he joined the league, has the most sacks in the league. They have Von Miller now. Since Von Miller joined the league, he has the most sacks. They have Jalen Ramsey, my number 1 corner in the league, absolutely locked down. But other than them 3, they have very just depth guys there. You know what I mean? They have the big names, but after that, it just drops down. So you're gonna think, oh, this Rams defense is extremely good. They got 3 stars. Okay, well, you take away that. What the hell do they have? They don't have much more. Again, they still have it. It kind of just got torn apart yesterday. They are better against the pass than they are the run. And the 49ers, just like you said, 49ers are really good, just smash mouth football, just running the ball right at you. And the 49ers are always been good at that, and the Rams aren't good against that. And the 49ers had a good game plan. Again, these are the two of some of the top head coaches in the league, in Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. And Shanahan just got the better of McVay yesterday. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Rams. They have a lot of these big names, but the depth pieces. And again, I was more confident in the offense than the defense, and they both just stunk it up. They stunk it up yesterday. I don't even know what's going on. I love Stafford.
I do too.
Hey, maybe when he faces this really good competition, that's what he's known for in Detroit. And I know he was on the terrible Detroit Lions, you know what I mean? So it's really hard to see how good Stafford could have been if he's played on a good team longer. But again, just like what you said, fitting into schemes, depending on what team he goes to, depends your future. It really does. It really does.
Turnovers. I mean, those turnovers just come back to bite you. You mentioned it. First 3 plays, an interception. I mean, it's not the ideal way to start the game. In fact, when you turn the ball over that early, that does signal for a blowout, most likely. You know what I mean? You're putting the other team in a short field, and it's going to create easy scoring opportunities. So the turnovers need to stop with Stafford. I know he's like I don't want to call him like a Brett Favre type, but he loves to sling the football. He's confident in his arm. But you gotta be more careful with the ball. But yeah, I'm with you on OBJ as well. I've always been a fan of him. I always wanted him on the Eagles. Now, obviously, I know this past time, I don't know that would ever be the opportunity that we need to bring OBJ in with the situation right now. But I've always been a fan of his, and people that would blame last night, like they're just trolls. Like, come on,
they are.
Like,
no reason.
I don't even understand it. If you even bring it into perspective, the Rams just got smoked by the Titans the previous week as well. Yeah. So it seems to be a recipe that defeats the Rams, and it's a physical presence. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to with the Rams. And if you're the Rams, I think that's concerning. They're kind of looking like this finesse team that, they like to air it out. They like to, have a good pass defense. They love to shoot out, right? But then when these teams come in and smack you in the mouth with the run game, run first offense, similar to the Titans have a run first offense as well. I know Derrick Henry's not there, but I know they still get the running opportunities in with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. And that just seems to be the recipe for the Rams, run the football down their throat, attack them, punch them in the mouth, and they'll fold. And they've done it every time this season so far, even the Buccaneers. Well, no, I guess no. They smoked the Buccaneers. It was the Cardinals that smoked the Rams.
Yeah. It was that Cardinals game. I remember watching that. That was earlier in the year too when I had the Rams. I had the Rams at number 1.
Down the Rams' throats.
They did exactly, and that's just what you got to do to them. That's what you got to do to them. But being done with Monday Night Football, going back over to Sunday. Russell Wilson came back for the Seahawks, going up against the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Always love seeing Russ against Aaron Rodgers, them 2 great quarterbacks. Yeah. But it was not the game that many of us expected. I think a lot of us expected a heavy point game, high scoring, but it just didn't turn out that way. Packers won, I believe it was 17-0. I know they shut out the Seahawks. And it's not something that I really would have seen coming. I thought the Packers were going to win, but again, I did not see a shutout happening. And just honestly, the Packers just played better football, and the Seahawks just played really bad. Even Russell Wilson played bad. But Pete Carroll, legendary head coach. Regardless of what you think about him, still a legendary head coach.
Yeah.
And, he kind of just – I didn't really like his press comments after the game. He said officials played huge part in the loss to Green Bay, and he actually went into specific plays. He discussed 3 plays of why the Seahawks lost this game. Not the point they scored 0 points or anything like that. He blames the refs. So the plays he went over was the first quarter scramble from Russell Wilson. The big one he talked about was Aaron Rodgers, that fumble in the second quarter. Now again, and then also there was the Kevin King interception in the third quarter that Russell Wilson threw. But the one that he mostly went over was the Aaron Rodgers fumble. When it was out there, he was just he went out and he said, I have it right here. He said, Darrell is laying on top of the football and the quarterback was reaching underneath him. Darrell had it from the moment that ball's on the ground. He got his chest on the ball and was laying on it. I don't know how they looked at it. He's laying on the ground and the ball is underneath him. God, that's such a big play in the game. Like, and I get it. It can be frustrating, but being a head coach and going out there and just blaming your loss on the refs, very immature. If something like that happened to Philly, like Sirianni was like, oh, we lost because of the refs. I'm happy with how we did. Even though we scored 0 points, it's the refs' fault. The refs aren't stopping you from scoring 0 points. They're not doing that. And that's kind of a story that I saw this morning, and I was like, this is a real conversation that happened. Like Pete Carroll, he's been in this league for however long, and he's been very successful. And this is the point he's getting to this season, is blaming everything on the refs. What are kind of your thoughts hearing about this entire situation from Pete Carroll?
Yeah, no, it's actually funny. So, first off, I hate the referees of the NFL. I think they suck. But,
right.
At the end of the day, I think they suck both ways, right? Like, I don't think they're ever just, really throwing games. Now, that Pittsburgh-Chicago game was a little weird.
That one was weird.
That one's different, though. So, like, if you come out and complain about the referees in that game, I think that's fine, because that was like a discretionary thing where the refs made a choice to throw a flag for something that you could disagree on, right? Like, now with the fumble, the turnovers, that's not what we need to be discussing here. We need to be talking about Russell Wilson returning to your offense and you putting up 0 points. You couldn't even get a goddamn field goal. Like,
exactly.
That's the problem. And, when we look at Green Bay, you can complain all you want about Aaron Rodgers. If there's anybody in a situation that's going to get favored, it's going to be the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's of the world. That's just the way life goes. But, it just seemed very it seemed very desperate for Pete Carroll to say things like that. Like, is he afraid he's going to lose his job? Like, what exactly are we saying this for? That's just a terrible outing by the Seahawks. And it just seems like he's trying to deflect. Yeah. You got to come out there with a better game plan. You have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, you have Russell Wilson. You should be able to score some points regardless. Yeah. Green Bay Packers, their defenses look good this year. That's not the best defense in the NFL to be holding the Seahawks to 0 points.
No.
So, I think Pete Carroll, it's borderline delusional in a sense that you can come out and say that stuff.
I think he should have just came out and just owned it. Hey, we didn't play good football today. We lost to the better team. We're going to come out next week and play better. There's something like that. And we wouldn't even be talking about Pete Carroll right now. I wouldn't have even known he even said that. And nothing would happen. Now people looking at him like, what is this guy thinking? And the other thing he complained about was there was interception in the back of the end zone. Kevin King had it. And apparently he's saying the ball hit the ground and that there's no way he made that catch and everything like that. And at the end of the statement, he said, all that happened. And in the end, if it wasn't an interception, we could have just got there and kicked a field goal. Well, maybe Russ shouldn't have made the throw, or he did get the interception. It was called an interception. Like, the refs aren't out to kill you, Pete Carroll. Yeah. The refs aren't here like, I'm gonna mess up Pete Carroll. You know what I mean? That's not happening. It's not happening. Was it the best call? No, but would that have changed the game at all? Again, no. It nothing else would have happened. It's just very immature from Pete Carroll.
As an Eagles fan, who has seen calls that are just like ridiculous. Like, yes, very bad. I'm not trying to hear this shit from Pete Carroll. Like, I'm just not. Like, the Eagles never complain about flags. They never complain about the refs. And it's quite often where the Eagles are getting screwed by the refs, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And they don't say anything. And that's because there's accountability that comes into effect here. And That's what Pete Carroll's totally lacking. I'm not trying to hear that from Pete Carroll.
No, 100%. I'm with you entirely. Already the 50-minute mark. We got to close it in before an hour. So real quick, going over your thoughts on the Eagles, just as quickly as because I really do want to hear your thoughts on the Eagles on Sunday against the Broncos. So there was a lot of positives. Me and Phil were very optimistic on our Overreaction Monday. I'm not sure if you've been a part of Overreaction Monday before, but what would be your overreaction? It's Tuesday, a little bit different. Phil's overreaction was that the Eagles are going to make the playoffs this year. And that's coming from a week before he said they're not going to win 2 games. So Phil is very flip-floppy. But what would be your overreaction for this week?
My overreaction. Man, I think people are going to kill me, but I think Jalen Hurts has locked in his role in this team for the next season. So this season and the next season, I think, obviously it's very dependent. He can't come out here and have a bunch of clunkers in the season, but his play so far has been good. I think it's just been that. It's not some elite. It's not MVP level. It's not great quarterbacking. He's just been good overall. I think that's as simple as it is. The Eagles, they've already matched their win total from the previous season. That says a lot to me.
Yeah.
And, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that, Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to say he's a franchise guy. I think that would be getting a little ahead of myself.
That would be a very overreaction.
Still not down to buy the jersey yet, but I think he's locked himself in for a second season as a starter. And a lot of other things play into that as well. He at the end of the day, he just needs to be better than those quarterbacks coming out of college.
Yeah.
And I think he has proved that he is that so far. And ultimately, the safe play for the Eagles going into next season, I think you trade one of those 3 first-round picks. You get a first-round pick the following season. That way you have 2 firsts in 2023. And then you have 2 firsts in 2022. Maybe you get a second-round pick back as well in 2022. You get 2 seconds. And then that way you have insurance, right? If Jalen Hurts goes off the deep end and he's just sucks, then you have some insurance to go get a quarterback there. But overreaction, Hurts was on the money on Sunday. He had the one interception. That was obviously the one bad play. But aside from that, he was pretty much on the money. It was the best game that I've seen from him so far. Now, obviously, still under the 200-yard passing mark. That's not as concerning to me. That's more of, if they need that, if they need more passing yards. They didn't need it in that game. They were able to run the football heavily.
The way I even look at it, in the second half, they passed the ball 3 times in the entire second
exactly.
half. So I can't really blame the yards. And I'm not even a big yards guy. If you win the game, that's all I care about.
Exactly. And that's the other side of it is the other side of the Eagles, and the takeaway from that game and the takeaway from the last 3 weeks is they have a very clear identity that we've established here. And, I think us as fans, as analysts, as content creators, we've kind of seen this from the jump that they should be a run-heavy team, run-first team. I think any team with basically a rookie quarterback, right, unless they're coming out and they're the Joe Burrows of the world, they're, the world beaters, you come out, you be a run-first offense, and you protect that quarterback's confidence. And I think that's what they figured out here. It took Sirianni a little bit to figure it out, but the last 3 weeks, that game plan has been pretty up to par. I've loved it. So I think they've also established their identity for this season, which is to be that run-heavy team. You keep Jordan Howard on the active roster even when Miles Sanders comes back. Mm-hmm. And I think you make those your duo, right? You throw a little bit of Boston Scott in there if you like, but I think when Miles comes back, it's Miles and it's Jordan Howard, and you kind of go back and forth with those guys, whoever's having a good game.
Right.
But, it was a great output from the Eagles. It was the best game this season.
Definitely, and I'm just loving that they're running the ball more again. I know before the game on Sunday, which I'm assuming they're still this way, but before that game, the 3 games prior, they are leading the league in rushing attempts, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. Love that stat line, because before that we weren't anywhere close in any of them, and I really just can't wait until Miles is back to be able to run the ball. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
And it's funny, you mentioned that the Eagles have actually moved into first in the NFC in rushing the football, so they're the number 1 team in the NFC. They're third in the NFL behind the Browns and the Ravens. It's very clear. It's very clear because you look around their roster as well. You look to the defensive side of the ball. Their defense isn't that good. They're very bend but don't break. If they can get turnovers, that's ideal, obviously. But you need to protect that defense, and you do that by controlling the time of possession. You control the time of possession by running the football. It all falls into place, and you just hope that Nick Sirianni can stay consistent with that. You look at these last 7 games. I mean, the thing that worries me with the Eagles whenever they're going up against an opponent is if that opponent has a good or great quarterback, a quarterback that can make some throws that other quarterbacks can't. And you look at a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, he's not that guy. Sam Darnold's not that guy. Matt Ryan at this point in his career, not really that guy. Yeah. So the wins that they've racked up this season, it's been against those subpar quarterbacks, and that's all that's really left in this stretch. So you go into New Orleans, Trevor Siemian, or if they start Taysom Hill, pick your. I guess you could call it poison. But start whichever one you want. Both of them stink at quarterback. So it gives me a lot of hope going forward. I'll tell you that, Jeremy.
I'm with you there. I'm hoping to see a deep stretch for this Eagles team with the second easiest schedule in the league behind the Titans. So it should be a fun one. A lot of divisional games coming up. So definitely keeping up on the Eagles.
Can I ask you one more question about just the Eagles and the way this season may play out?
Of course.
If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, the San Francisco 49ers, the Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers, and New Orleans Saints, are any of those teams in your eyes definitively better than the Eagles?
Name them again.
So Atlanta, which they've already beat, San Fran, they lost to, Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers, who they beat, and then New Orleans, who they play this Sunday.
So again, if New Orleans had Jameis, I would say New Orleans is definitely 100% better. But they don't have Jameis, so that I don't think that's definitive. I don't think the Saints are automatically just better than us right now.
Right.
I can't say that. The Vikings, again, I would like to say they are, but they are just they've just been having a bad stretch recently. Yeah. So I can't say the Vikings either. We've beat the Panthers, we've beat the Falcons, and the 49ers I would say are just definitely better than us. But again, that's really it. All them other teams, I'm not saying we're just better than them no matter what.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's close. It's really
in those games,
I can see either way.
If we play those games, we have a chance at winning those games is kind of what I'm getting at there. And those are the teams that are basically right there with us in that wild card hunt. So you talk about the 6th and the 7th seed in the playoffs, and then the rest of the guys in the hunt there. The Eagles have a chance. You mentioned the easy schedule the rest of the way, and that's one advantage they have over all of those teams. And if they can steal this New Orleans wins, that's going to be a very defining game in the season. I do believe that because New Orleans, I know they don't have a quarterback, but their defense is really good, which is a little scary. But they're coming into Philly, so that does give us a little bit of an advantage. But
definitely
huge game on Sunday, man. I'm excited.
It'll be huge. I can't wait. Real quick before we hop off, we do have to talk at least a little bit about the Flyers. Real quick. The last time we spoke of the Flyers, it was before their last 2 games, a little bit of a road series happening, but now they're back home tonight. They faced, at the time, the 10-1 Hurricanes, and we actually came out. Jason Voorhees even said that we're going to go out and beat the Hurricanes and lose to the 5-6-2 Stars. He called it exactly. We beat the amazing team in the Hurricanes. We won 2-1, and Carter Hart played an amazing game at goalie. That's all Jason was talking about. So I know on Thursday when he's on this week, Thursday instead of Friday, he's going to talk. He's going to talk about us and how right he is. I already know that's just how Jason is. It's great. And then after that, we did lose to the Stars, the worst team, which he called. We lost 5-2. Something that he just called absolutely amazing call by him. I had a flip-flop. So, just shows Jason knows a lot more about hockey than me, plain and simple. And then tonight we do have a very difficult game against the Flames. We are 7-4-2. To put it in record-wise, we are 7-4-2, and the Flames are 8-3-4. So kind of in the same realm. Flyers are still sitting in the middle of the pack in the Metropolitan Division. So again, we're trying to go, we're still early in the season. But something that Jason always says is he's optimistically cautious. Yeah, that's what, or cautiously optimistic. What does he say? I think he says cautiously optimistic. But Some good stuff going on with the Flyers. Beating the best team in the league is huge. Something that we need to see. And Carter Hart is getting back into his form, which has been amazing to see on the ice rink.
Something interesting about tonight's game as well is, in the last 5, both the Flyers and the Calgary are both 2-3. So they're both in, a similar stretch during the season here where, hopefully the Flyers can take care of business and get back on track. But yeah, I'm excited for the Flyers this season. I'm hoping they can, get into the playoffs and make some noise. But I definitely need to catch a few more games for sure.
Yeah,
it's hard with the Sixers and the Flyers, man. You got to have like double screens. So
there's so much going on right now. We got Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers going on right now. And of course, you know me, I'm always in that Phillies off season. So everything is going on right now, and it's so hard to keep track of everything. And sadly, hockey is a little bit later in my list than the other things, but I still definitely love keeping up with them, especially the playoffs. There's nothing like playoff hockey.
Yeah, so exactly.
It's insane. Everyone plays so amazing and everything. But just a lot of stuff going on in Philly right now. But Sixers,
so we got the back-to-back, so you can watch them back-to-back since the Sixers are playing late.
Yeah, so we got Sixers tonight, Flyers tonight, a lot of Philly stuff going on. This show is a little bit over an hour, so we are going to wrap it up a little bit. Again, DSM is sponsored by Manscaped. Use code TRENDING. The best grooming experience for your downstairs area. Your balls will thank you. Holiday season is around. Use code TRENDING, 20% off and free shipping. You're not going to regret it. Just get it for the holiday season. It's right around the corner. Be a great present. I know I got it over here, and it's great, so keep on using, remember, code TRENDING, TRENDING, for 20% off and free shipping. Scotty, thank you for hopping on for Phil today. It's been a great show over here. Definitely a longer one than normal that we have. We've been going on. There was a lot of stuff to go over, though. A lot of news dropping. But again, thank you so much for joining the show.
And anytime, Jeremy, and same to Phil. Anytime you guys need me, I'll be here in the morning. But I think part of it was just the fact that me and you have never been on the show together. Yeah. So we finally got to hash it out and really talk sports. But definitely an honor to jump on with you guys. Shout out to DSM all the way. And keep doing your thing, man. This stuff is awesome in the morning. I love waking up to it.
I appreciate that, man. Again, hopefully a lot more shows going on also this week. I don't know what else you got planned, but I know we got Faithful Fanatics all the time.
We got Hembo later on today. So that's something to note. Paul Hembekitis from ESPN is hopping on the Faithful Fanatics today. And then I think you got a Diamond Talk this week, right? Talking all
sometime this week, yes. It's very different. Our schedules are now flip-flopped. We both got jobs, so it's very flip-flopped. But we will have a Diamond Talk episode.
I'm waiting for that episode, though. I need an update, man. Update me. I got
We'll definitely be going on there. Have not had a show with George in a good bit, so definitely looking to get back on that. But shows all week, 7 days a week. Subscribe, DSM_media on Twitter. Some stuff going on. A bunch of links down below in all of our descriptions. So whatever you're watching it on, we got the links to all of our social medias down there. Go follow all of them. I appreciate all the support. And the way we always end it off is go Birds.
Go Birds.